Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. This is our preview show, and we're looking forward to the junior and intermediate quarterfinals coming up this weekend. Later on the show, we're going to hear from Peter Nugent and Ruairi Cunningham as we look forward to the intermediate championship. But first, we're joined by Eire Ogs player Conor Martin, and we're discussing his side's chances this weekend as they face Crossmaglen in the first quarterfinal of the weekend. Conor, it's back to the athletic grounds. You're facing Crossmaglen seconds. The last time he was in the athletic grounds was a Friday night in a quarter final. Unfortunately, he's just lost out in the end. He's were beaten by Fork Hill, who went on to win the junior championship. That was after extra time. It was an exciting game, one of the games of the championship probably last year. Are you carrying that hurt into Friday night and into the 2021 season?
Listen, I wouldn't say we were carrying the hurt now, but it's always in the back of your mind, you know what I mean? Especially a tight game like that goes right down to the wire. I believe we probably had a chance to win it in normal time, right at the very death. Probably hurts a wee bit more than that, but you know what I mean? You can't really look back on that coming into a brand new championship. It's a completely new slate. You're allowed mistakes happen and stuff like that. There, we didn't get over the line. Fork Hill went on to win it, so we sort of looked at it that way. Like, if you're beat by the best, what can you do? They were a strong side and thoroughly deserved winning it in the end, and just some of their players were probably a wee bit stronger than us in the end. Couple of decisions during the game and stuff like that there probably didn't go our way, but listen, you look back at it and you learn from it, and I think that's all really you can do. We're just probably more excited to be back in the athletic grounds as probably the showpiece game of the weekend. The juniors, it's going to be tight, but as I say, with a couple of brand new players in, so they'll not be carrying the same hurt and stuff like that there. It'll be a good experience for them, and we're hoping that we can get over the line this time on Friday night.
On Friday night lights, Conor, it's obviously, as you say, it's the pick of the junior championship quarterfinals against Crossmaglen seconds. These are two of the top teams in the competition, and after this weekend, one of the big hitters are going to be gone. And we've spoken this podcast before. There's probably 4 or 5 teams in the junior championship that feel that they can really go on and push on and win this championship. And you and Eire Ogs and Cross are 2 of them. What's it like heading into this big clash so early in the championship?
I think it's a case of deja vu, because it was probably around the same time that we met Fork Hill last year, and it was seemed the same rhetoric, where it was probably one of the big hitters was going to be gone then. We're just sort of hoping that this year it's us. Now, we're under no illusions of the task that's ahead of us. Like, you're playing the league winners. They'll fancy themselves. They're probably going into it, I would say, favourites. So listen, we can only go out there and play the way we play. If we play our game to our best strengths, then we're 110% in with a chance. But as I say, it's the hunger and desire and who wants it more. I'd say on Friday night's probably going to win the game, and I believe that our team has that in abundance. It's just where we turn up and do it on Friday night. We'll decide who wins it in the end.
And Crossmaglen, as you mentioned, league champions. The just edges out by a couple of points at the end of the season. There's All Ireland medals in that changing room. They've Garrett O'Neill over them, who's an All Ireland winning assistant manager with Tony McEntee in years gone by. There's a lot of talent, a lot of star-studded players in that changing room. Is it a bit daunting going in to meet these boys? And like, obviously the one that stands out is probably Paul McGowan, a former All Ireland winning captain in 2009, I think it was. He was the captain.
Yeah, listen, I think any cross side that they're going to face is going to be star-studded. There's going to be somewhere about there. Football's their religion down there, and they follow it well. So you can't really, as I say, you can't really look at individual players. I think you can have a team of individuals. You can have a team of 15 that play well together, and I think the team of 15 is gonna have a better chance. Listen, no doubt, they're going to be key factors, as we believe last time we played Fork Hill, the likes of Jamar and Bug were big factors. You know what I mean? It is what it is, but you don't really. I don't think you can really change your game plan much for different players. You go out and play your own game, and hopefully we have the players. Well, I personally think we do to get over the line. But as I said earlier, we're under no illusions of the task that's ahead of us. And all you have to do, you're on your Friday night lights in the athletic grounds. There's nothing better. There's no better thing. And over the last couple of weeks, I know that the buzz in the camp is good, and we really feel that we can go for it. Now, we're not gonna go in thinking it's going to be anything easy. In fact, we're probably up against it. So, listen, we'll see what tells the tale. People have bad games. You never know. People don't turn up. Listen, it's going to be a completely different game for them, I would say. They're probably used to playing in this sort of bigger games and stuff like that there, where will be a junior game, but we'll see what way it goes. I wouldn't say we would be massively fearing.
And I suppose heading in, you sort of touched on there, these are probably underdogs, given the strength Crossmaglen have and the names they have. Is that maybe a bit of pressure off you? Is that all the pressure is nearly on, Rico Kelly, Johnny Hanratty, Johnny McKeever, Paul McKeown, all these boys performing? When they're playing junior football, you nearly expect them to be superstars. Does that relieve the pressure off our Ogo a wee bit?
Yes, 110%. As I say, it's good saying the pressure's for tires and stuff like that there, but you have to go in with a clean state, and you have to be able to stand up on the big occasions. So probably I would say the pressure is on them. They've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, as they say. We ourselves would probably are just going to go out and play our own game and enjoy it. I'd say I think the main factor I would say would be to enjoy it. You're going out, you're playing on your county's pitch. You just go out and play your game and be what may, as I say.
And we spoke about the league, obviously Cross were the league champions, pipped you by a couple of points. How did you find the league season this year? We were split in two. It was finishing off the 2020 season. You were pushing hard for promotion near the end. How did you find, I suppose, your personal form on the team's form during the league?
Oh, well, definitely after the break for COVID, we definitely lost a fair bit of momentum. We lost our first two games, I think, against Billakes at home and then away to Lissummon. Probably games that we fought before the break, we probably would have carried our momentum in and won. You sort of lose it a bit, but as so did every team, you know what I mean? It was a completely different factor that we'd never seen happening. And I think it affected everybody. So we can't really turn around and sort of blame it on that. We were just probably caught late in the hop, and we tried to claw back, and we got a couple of good results, like away to Derry House and stuff, but we just sort of failed towards the end. Now, it sort of gives us championships a second chance for promotion, if you know what I mean, and we really feel that we can be the team to gain promotion, but as I say, it's going to be a difficult journey, and one that I believe started last week against started 2 weeks ago against Clady, and is probably going to finish and with a junior championship. But we're under no illusions as how hard it's going to be. And
you had that game 2 weeks ago against Clady in the first round, and I suppose no disrespect to Clady, but when the draw was done a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, maybe at this stage, the big one was using Cross. Everybody was picking that out and looking forward to it. Use of that game under your belts, is that an advantage to you, is having a championship game already played? And I'm sure there were some Crossmaglen boys at your game looking at you and seeing what they can do against you.
Yeah, I do believe it's handier to get a game under your belt, stuff like that there, so you're not coming in fresh, you know what it's about. And listen, Clady gave us everything we wanted, especially in the second half. We're probably unlucky of hitting the bar right at the very start of the second half, or it would have been a different game. So it wasn't as if we didn't have an opposition up against us. They played very well in the second half, and probably played with a lot of pride in their jersey. No one wants the season to end, as I say. So yeah, I believe getting minutes in your legs and stuff like that there really does benefit you. But listen, Cross Seconds could be thinking the same, that they're coming in fresh. They haven't had that game. Maybe they've been working on stuff. They've been working on us, and obviously. Now, I was playing the game, so I didn't really see if there was any Cross Seconds boys there. They could have been hiding in the bushes, but you never know. But they probably seen us probably play well in parts, but probably didn't see our full game, and that can be good or bad for them. You know what I mean? I feel that we just sort of did enough in that round. Probably more to come, but as I say, going into this underdogs, they probably feel that they have the measure of us. And that's probably a situation that you want to be in. You know what I mean? It's always handier, as you say, it takes a bit of pressure off you. You can go out and express yourself. So it has its benefits, but it also has its negative factors.
And Connor, just to finish then, we spoke about this as the big game of the junior championship. This is the big game of the weekend. You're live on Friday night at 7:30, I think the game is, live on Armagh TV. How good is that exposure for junior football, being live on Armagh TV? And anybody going into the game on Friday evening is getting treated to a double header. So I'm sure there'll be neutrals at it too. How big is that for junior football to get it out there and get people seeing that it's a good quality?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I feel sometimes like it's great to have an intermediate, senior, and junior level in your county. I feel sometimes you're forgotten about a wee bit, but it's great to have that exposure. And I think it helps, especially the younger generation, coming through the senior team. It gives a buzz around them. You know what I mean? It's nice to see themselves go out, you're on TV, everybody sees you and stuff like that there, especially parents and relatives, and also people who can't get there. We have to remember there's still sort of that wee bit of worry about COVID and stuff like that there, especially amongst the elderly that maybe don't really want to go to the game. But I think Armagh TV do a great job in terms of getting that out and around to people, which they need to be commended for. So like it is a real positive factor, and especially with Forkhill and Tullysarn on after, it promises to be a good night.
Connor, thanks very much for coming on. As normal, we'll be covering all the junior and intermediate action with previews, match reports, interviews, and podcasts, and of course our team of the week. Up next is Peter Nugent Ruairi Cunningham, and we're looking forward to the 4 intermediate quarterfinals. Connor, thanks again for coming on, and best of luck at the weekend.
No problem, Sean. Cheers. Thanks very much.
We're looking forward to an entertaining and interesting weekend of football. I suppose we'll start with Friday night's game. It's in Athletic Grounds at 8:45. This is a double header. Cross and Eire Ogs are playing in the junior quarterfinal beforehand. Forkhill coming in extremely untested, I suppose, is the way to put it. They hammered Portmore in the first round, while Tullysarn just done enough to get past Tiernogue in the first round. Peter, I suppose to start, 8:45. It was the same time for Katie and Wolf Tones in the first round. It's a late throw in.
Yeah, it is, Sean. I think preparation and logistical nightmare for lads who are maybe on the go from 6:30 or 7:00 that morning. You nearly make a case for people maybe taking a half day off work or maybe working the full day is the better of the two options are actually. If you're just looking to sort of kill time and not be caught hanging around thinking too much about the game. But there's no doubt it is a very awkward time. Even the general meet-up times for the teams, you're probably going to be tipping in towards sort of 7:15 or so, 7:30 before teams are even thinking about getting together. So it's especially on a Friday night, it's a strange one. But the Athletic Grounds under lights at this time of the year, you sort of offset that with the atmosphere that can be generated, and it is knockout football. And the team that wins it obviously has a massive prize of getting into the semi-final. So, look, I'm sure if you ask the players from the other 8 teams that were knocked out 2 weeks ago, would the swap places? I'm sure they would.
And right, Forkhill mentioned that massive victory they had over Portmore. Still untested at this level, obviously coming through, having played Junior League this year after winning the Junior Championship last year. We'll finally get to see what Forkhill's made of, I suppose, at this level, coming up against an experienced intermediate team.
Well, I think it'd be fair to say that I know Forkhill have been playing a junior this last year or so. Depending on COVID, what way you count it, but this last season or so, really. But a lot of that team has been on the go a long time. The Stephen Sheridans, the Barry Shannons, the Conor Donaghy's and these boys have been playing a long, long time. It wasn't so long ago that team was in 1B, maybe, in 2013, 2014. So a lot of these guys have played at a good level of football, have been about. I think this is one of the most difficult ties to calling around. I think that Forkhill have a lot of quality. I've played them too many times and come out on the wrong side a lot. They chinned us 2 years ago in a junior championship when we were probably favourites after beating them in the league. They beat us very, very well. So they have quality. They have championship pedigree. I think they know what it takes to win. They had a great championship experience last year. They're coming in on a high off a good league campaign and a championship win last year. So I think Forkhill's a quality team. They're playing a good side in Tullysarn, who produced the result of the year last year, beating Sarsfields. and have proven that they're quality, and are, you know, very competitive in 2A. So I think it's all the ingredients for one of the best ties around. The scoring potential in the two teams on paper, the two forward lines are electric, you know. So I think Tullyshine would be very foolish to underestimate Forkhill. They have a lot of experience at this level.
And Peter, Tullysarn were missing a few key men the last day, and we spoke about that on our review show a couple of weeks ago. You'd like to think they're gonna have them back. Turlock Lardner's gonna be back. Owen Daly, Matthew Mallon. As I said the last day, Mark McKeever was sort of forced to come out into the middle of the field to help out. He's going to be inside this time, and that's a different prospect for Tullysarn with him inside. How do you see this one going, Peter? We know we like our predictions. Do you see Tullysarn's experience coming through here, or can Forkhill spring a surprise?
Yeah, well, Sean, you know, I've been sort of maybe beating the drum a wee bit about Tullysarn now, maybe like for a while. I can remember going there with the Grange maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago, and it gave us an absolute lesson. You know, their manipulation of the ball was very good, the movement from deep, the ability to break lanes, and really that season in 2B, the one that had a canter, and it's a lot of the same players. And when I seen them last year in the championship, the against Sarsfields, they're absolutely excellent. It was really touched on. It was probably the performance of the year, and I think it probably did them no favors after that, because it hyped a lot of expectation on them, and subsequently faltered. But you know, they're another year down the line. I know their league form maybe wasn't too spectacular, but you know, the Clans and Sarsfields in that division as well. So that was obviously going to be, you know, quite difficult. But it was really touched on. Their forward line has immense capability. And I would be thinking, and I talked about it a few weeks ago, I just have a wee reservation that Forkhill are coming in from playing a couple of seasons now at junior level, and albeit they did win the championship and they did facile win 2 weeks ago. But again, you would have to raise question marks over the level of the opponent. And I know anything can happen on the day in Championship Day, but my reservation for them would be it is going to be a jump, and I'm going to just think that Tullysarn might have maybe 2 to 4 points to spare here, providing that they come out and express themselves.
I think every time we talk on the podcast about Tullysarn, we do mention that Sarsfields game, and that day turned me into a big fan of Tullysarn as well. And I think they let both of us down in our predictions in the semi-final last year. So I'd be wary enough of them. I think Forkhill might just have enough here. I know I'm only judging it on the two performances. They both played on the same day 2 weeks ago. Forkhill obviously massive winners over Portmore, while, as I said, Tullysarn sort of limped through their game with Tiernogue. I think I'm just going to give the edge to Forkhill slightly on the fact of the 3 county men. Cormac Toner was playing well, Tony Canning at the back, Conor Donaghy. I think the key matchup is going to be Paddy Burns at centre half back against Gavin Conlon. Conlon is the link man up front. He's the one that makes them tick. But as I say, if Mark McKeever goes inside, then that's another threat for Forkhill. I'm not ruling out a draw. I think I'm just going to slightly tip Forkhill. Ruairi, what way are you swaying?
I have to say, I think that this will be very, very close. I think, in fairness to Tullysarn, they're probably a wee bit even underrated at the back. They've a quality half back line there, Brian Kelly and Turlock Lardner, and they do have a lot of experienced players, and Adrian Conlon back there as well. You know, so they will have the ability to match Forkhill's top men up. But I think Forkhill will be very competitive. I think Tullysarn may just creep over the line by 1 or 2. I think this will be very, very tight. As you spoke there, if Tullysarn move the ball the way they moved against Sarsfields last year in their kickouts, you know, they can they manipulate the ball so well. And I think they'll just have enough. Eddie Mallon, Mark McKeever, and those guys up front might just have enough to pull them over the line.
Well, as you can tell by our predictions, that's such a tough game, and it's hopefully an enjoyable one to get the quarterfinals up and running on Friday evening. On Saturday, another tight one coming up. This is in Pearshow Park at 3:30, and it's Carrickcruppen and Wolf Tones. Couldn't have been much closer in the league between the two. They drew, I know it was in 2020, they drew in the first or second round. Carrickcruppen went on and won the league this year. Ruairi, you were the only team to beat them. I know they had the league secured by that stage, so I'm not sure they fielded a full team. What do you think of Carrickcruppen? Obviously, they have such a young team coming through, and we've spoke about the likes of Woods, Kelly, Richard Keenan all coming through. How do you see Carrickcruppen faring this weekend and maybe further in the championship if they get through it?
I think they're a very good team. We played them twice in 2020 and in 2021. Look, we were lucky enough to beat them. I think we came up very well organised in a championship mode. They probably didn't expect us to be coming up, as competitive as we were, and we just caught them on the hop. But it did maybe expose some of their flaws in that they are very young. They, bar one or two experienced players, Tiernan Kelly, Owen Woods, Jack Cunningham, all their best players are in that under 20, under 21 type, they're top players. And when we really get into them, their decision making, possibly let them down a little. And it's this game, a massive clash of styles, you know what I mean? It's a Cruppen team that wants to score, 3-14 every game against the Tones team, who are very well organised at the back, very aggressive, and play, a very intelligent, a patient, I'll call it a patient style of play, but, it's a great clash of styles. I do feel that Cruppen have the quality, but I'm not sure if they've seen to the flaws that cost them against, an experienced St. Paul's team last year, where they had the quality going forward to beat them. But, just every time they got to run out in front, they let them back in. Speaking to the College Land boys last week, I think College Land felt that they maybe left an opportunity possibly behind them. I think College Land played very, very well last weekend, but Cruppen ran out winners in the end. So no, I'm impressed with Cruppen. I just think Wolf Tones' experience is this is going to be a very interesting game. Possibly being in Pierce Road Park, a big pitch might suit Cruppen a little better, although I know Wolf Tones is used to playing on a very big pitch at home. But I feel that, Cruppen have a lot of potential, but it'd be very hard to say they're favourites for this game.
And Peter, you seen that Carrickcruppen and College Land game. You seen how College Land got success against Carrickcruppen. We spoke about last year. There was a 9-point difference. It was 3 this time. What would Wolf Tones have learned that day? Because Wolf Tones, I assume, were all at the game because they were already through and knew that they were meeting the winner of Cruppen and College Land. What do you feel they would have learned that they can do to upset Carrickcruppen?
Well, I think, Sean, firstly, this is one that I'm having a lot of difficulty with, and actually picking a winner here, picking a horse, because obviously, I'd be rooting for the boys, but I've been a big advocate of Cruppen, I suppose. But I haven't seen Cruppen the last day. I'd be, as I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm more inclined to rein in the hype a wee bit about them. I thought, exactly like Ruairi sort of alluded to, their decision making when it was really put to them, and that sort of championship intensity was presented by College Land. I wasn't blown away with them, to tell you the truth. I think that they're predominantly 85-90% of their teams built up in with a very young core to that team. And in all fairness, they did have a couple of big guys that pulled them through, like Sir Richard Keane and Blaine coming out and playing as he played. Obviously, was a massive factor. And I think how the Tones try and match up and negate Blaine's influence in the game is going to probably maybe make or break the final outcome. Whether they try and negate them altogether on kick-out situations, or whether they try and maybe go for distance and try and go to the opposite wing, because he seems to take up a particular side. What the Tones probably have in the middle is James Lavery the last day was carrying a knock, and he didn't finish the game, whereas you would be hoping that extra couple of weeks now we'll have him, we'll have brought him on, we'll have him moving. They're still minus Jamie Hockey, which is going to be a big blow for them in this game, because they would certainly been looking to him to sort of carry the game to Cruppen. Ruairi touched on it. The Tones are extremely patient, and it's, well, I would call it a slow build-up, and I would love to see them cutting loose a wee bit more and maybe try and play more first-time ball in, because I do believe that they have the personnel up there that could definitely make hay against Carrickcruppen. it's whether they can sort of break those habits and get moving the ball a wee bit quicker. I think it's going to be a massive clash of styles. I think the Tones have a lot of experience. They have a lot of players that have played at a higher level than this over a sustained period of time. The likes of Ryan McQuillan there has maybe played 7 or 8 seasons really over the course of his career in Division 1 Senior Championship. James Lowry as well, Chris McYarn. Like they've got boys that have been around the block. Carcroppen don't essentially have that. So whilst you would say on paper Cruppen maybe look the more attractive team, and the results this year have been more eye-catching, it's championship football, and the Tones have been knocking around now for a couple of years in semi-finals, and when I had the boys up in senior football, we showed at times that we were very capable of mixing it with a higher level of opposition. So I'm gonna call this one's going to go maybe all the way to penalties. I say that quite reluctantly, but I genuinely do think that Tones have a lot of experience, and they're not going to give this one up easy.
I think based on, I haven't seen Carcroppen this year, I'll admit, based on what I've seen of Carcroppen last year and Wolf Tones' game against Katie, I don't know, we spoke about it, Peter, definitely wasn't one for the purists. It was both sides playing defensively, slow build-ups, wasn't massive scoring either. I think Carcroppen could have enough here. I don't know, experience, as you say, Peter, is going to be massive in this. But I think I'm going to call it. I'm going to tip Carcroppen. I think the momentum's with them, although it was a tight league and Wolf Tones finished second. I think Carcroppen go on unbeaten while winning the league. And then, as we said, that final game against Clonmore when the league title was already wrapped up. I think they have all the momentum. They're the dark horse in this championship. I think I'm just going to tip them marginally, but with no confidence whatsoever. What about you, Rory? How do you see it going?
I was just thinking that the only two teams from 2B left. It was a bad week for 2B last week. To be honest with you, I just feel I think the Tones have actually enough to take this over the line. I've seen Tones play a very particular way. If anybody has seen them in the last couple of years, they're going to play with a sweeper. I just feel, I know when we played with a sweeper against Carcroppen, they seemed very unsure of how we deal with that. They let us have the sweeper in the first half. We built up a healthy lead, and then they pushed up on the sweeper in the second half, and we were able to pick them off then in the break when they left that bit of space in the second half. I think if the Tones can start with that intensity that they want and get out in front, they have the qualities, say, Paddy Judge up there, a couple of those guys, have a bit of quality to pick them off on the break. And if they can play, as you say, Peter, and release that ball quickly, on that big pitch into that forward, they have some quality on that full forward line. They have good players and release that ball. And I think the Tones can nip them there. And if they get out in front with the experience, there's nobody better with 5 minutes to go than the Tones to keep the ball. I've been on the wrong side of it once or twice. So I'm going to go for the Tones by 2.
So some of us is going to be right. Peter's going draw. I'm going Cruppen, and Rory's going Tones. Somebody's going to be right. We'll move on to Sunday's action then, men. We're in Katy at 1:30 and at St Paul's against Cullaville. And maybe a bit like Tullysorn last year against Sarsfields, I've become a big fan of them. I think I'm becoming a fan of Cullaville. Very impressed with them against Shane O'Neill's. Obviously, they were the underdogs going into the game. And Peter, we spoke about that game in our preview the last time, that we didn't really know what to expect with Cullaville. We both tipped Shane O'Neill's, I think, if I remember right. Shane O'Neill's obviously were one of the favourites coming into the competition, while Cullaville haven't been relegated in the league. Not playing well, it seemed, but their big men stood up. Colin Waters, Fergal Rowland, Niall Rowland, Ryan Garvey, Rory Garvey at the back. All their big players all stood up, and they're going to give St Paul's a good rattle this weekend, you would imagine.
Well, you can only imagine, Sean, what how the mood's probably been in their camps since that game where they turned Shane O'Neill's over. Like that's a massive result. Shane O'Neill's were seen as a team that would be going again deep into the competition, having been so close over the last 4 or 5 seasons. It took me by surprise. Probably took yourself by surprise as well. And when you seen the players, the caliber of player that was stepping up for Cullaville on the day, the likes of Garvey and Colin Waters and Niall Rowland, Fergal Rowland, like of seasoned players that have been there and done it for Cullerville. And, you know, I would be thinking that they've probably, there's been a bit of realization in their camp over the last couple of weeks that they took a big player out of this championship. You know, you don't get any medals for helping somebody else win the championship. This is probably one that they're looking at now and saying, right, let's go and take St. Paul's out now, because it's probably well within their capabilities. If you're going and judging them on that performance against Shane O'Neill's, you'd be thinking that they'd be well fit to go and take St. Paul's out. And saying that, with Andrew Murnan playing at the other end of the field, it gives St. Paul's an opportunity every day of the week. And we were caught short on St. Paul's last year at different times, thinking that we were going to rule them out. And this St. Paul's do have this knack, because they carry so much experience in their team. They have this knack of pulling results out, especially when they're not fancied. So it would be foolish to totally write them out. And Owen McConnell's going to kick, you know, whatever frees come his way. Paternosh, if he's back, is going to be looking to rain diagonals in on top of Andrew Murnan, and Big McCorry gives them, if he's back, he gives them a platform to go from in the middle of the field. So when you start to go through the personnel then, and you think if St. Paul's can get anywhere near to being full out, you know, they're not to be discounted. But I would just be thinking that potentially Cullerville have enough momentum going their way now, and if the few knocks that they picked up have cleared up, I think that they can do it.
Ruairi, St. Paul's obviously got to the final last year, and the less said about that, the better probably for St. Paul's. They have that experience from last year, while they beat Middletown, where they were expected to beat Middletown easily. They're going to have a couple of players back, the likes of Paternosh maybe going to be back this weekend. But Cullerville are on such a high. When you beat a big team like Shane O'Neill's, it can only do you good coming into this game. The two teams obviously drew the last round of the league, whatever that was, 4-6 weeks ago. This is going to be a tight game. Like we've said with all of them, this is going to be very hard to call.
Yeah, I was looking back at the results, and I seen that league result. I was trying to get a steer on how Cullerville was going, and the two teams drew in a game that obviously meant a lot at the time in the league. You know, so the two teams were playing fairly competitively. I seen St. Paul's and Middletown played in Clonmore in the championship, so we were down. I watched the game, and I have to say I was slightly underwhelmed by St. Paul's. I know the quality that they have. I've played them for years. They have a knack of winning games that they should never have been near. You know, the Carrickruppen game last year, the Tully Sound game when they were underrated, you know, completely. So they have that experience to be competitive. I think they would need to bring their quality players back to beat. Cullerville have good quality when they're all out. The Rollins, Quality Waters, quality players who play an aggressive style of South Armagh football that is suited to championship football. And I feel that whilst I know St. Paul's have a lot of experience of pulling in big results, they'll need to be well improved. Middletown were competitive, but Middletown have had a really poor year. A lot of their high quality hurling players, you know, who have carried Middletown for a long time, have stepped away. And St. Paul's didn't light up the world, you know what I mean, against Middletown, and took quite a while to put them away. So I feel that they'll have to improve considerably. That's not to say they can't. They've done it before, but they'll have to improve considerably and get maybe more out of Andrew Murnan. Andrew seemed to be just, and I know he's a top quality player. He has roasted me more times than I'd like to admit. But you know, he was playing quite deep against Middletown as well. You know, and you know, he's much more effective. We've seen him in a couple of championship finals. We've seen him turn games on his head in that field, and I think they'll really need to move him further forward and drive that quality ball into him. There's a young guy, Anton McParland, in corner forward there, who's a real live wire if they can get the ball onto him. So that's where they need to improve. And Paternosh a massive miss. There's no doubt about it. You know, even in the county final last year, Paternosh was outstanding when all was in flames around him. So they're going to need that quality back to win this game and that bite.
I think I'm going to just slightly tip Cullerville if they can handle Andrew Murnan. If he plays full forward, like we know the quality that Andrew Murnan has, he's one of the best forwards in the county. Can Cullerville deal with him? I know against Shane O'Neill's, well, Shane O'Neill's didn't carry the threat that an Andrew Murnan carries. Cullerville did get did set up well. They had 12 men at times back and played with 3 up front most of the time. If they can handle Andrew Murnan, I think they're just going to sneak this. Peter, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that as well. I can only see I can see it being an extremely tight game, and again, I wouldn't be surprised to see this one goes the distance and a wee bit further. But my hunch tells me that did St. Paul's really get enough of a lift from beating a team that they were really expected to beat quite well anyway. And I just know from sort of experiences when you're in a changing room where you've got that big bump of taking out a big team, the momentum can sometimes carry you a wee bit further. And I just have a wee hunch for Colville in this one.
What do you think, Ruairi? How do you see it going?
Yeah, I agree with that. And the lifted training this week, I know Colville boys have been bouncing, a massive win for them. And I think that while St. Paul's is coming in quietly under the radar, I think that the momentum will carry Colville through this one.
And the last game then, the last quarter final, Sarsfields take on Whitecross, 3:30 on Sunday, and this is in Abbey Park. Ruairi, Sarsfields are the favourites for the championship. I think they're everybody's favourites. You played them in the first round. How did you find them? Were they impressive, or what did you make of them?
Well, I was impressed with Sarsfields, and I think what I first of all noticed was that they had learned the lesson from last year, and you could say that it maybe took Tullysharn more lightly than they should have. And in fairness to them, they give us the respect that we deserved. They were more aggressive than us. They played the game with a high championship intensity. That for Clonmore to have won the game, we would have had to have outworked them because they have great quality, but they didn't. They turned up well organized, very aggressive, and I was very impressed with how they set up. They had Collie Stevenson sitting in very, very deep, Kevin McAlinton playing in front of him, who gave us a lot of bother. A good quality player with the 2 McGillans, especially Paul with almost a free Rian O'Neill type role around the middle, and he roams and he'll go wherever he feels, that he can be most effective. And they're difficult to set up, they're difficult to play against, there's no doubt. And Niall Kerr at centre half back, I think he scored 3 45s against us as well. They're very efficient from their frees. From kickouts, they will go long and they bomb the middle with big men. So I was impressed with them. They're organised. They were definitely the best team we have played this year now, and they were deservedly so. You could see why they were league winners. And I think, barring a slip up, they're rightly favourites for the championship.
Yeah, Peter, they're big favourites this weekend. Whitecross, maybe not a surprise is too strong a word, but they got past Ballyhagan when both of us tipped Ballyhagan in that one. Whitecross coming into this massive underdogs, not much expected of them. Maybe that helps sometimes, that there's not much expected of you and you can play with a wee bit more freedom.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about that. And again, like Whitecross are coming in with a wee bit of a bump as well. But I know that even this year, I think Sarsfields played them down in Derrytrust in the league, and it was a pretty heavy margin of defeat. And whilst it's not the be all and the end all, it's league positions, league results are a pretty strong indicator of the general trajectory that the two teams are going in. Sarsfields are a Division 1 team in all but name. Ruairi's touched on it, and he probably got a taste of it up close and personal a few weeks back. Just their all-around level of quality. It's the same crux of the team that was going really well in Division 1 when it was just Division 1, never mind Division 1A. They were always up there for a while. They were actually competing year on year to be like a top 3, top 4 team, and it's a lot of that same group of players that are still playing, and now they're playing at intermediate level, and they're obviously going to be going up next year, but you would definitely have the feel that they're going to be going up as champions. That would be my hunch on it. And I think that this weekend is going to be another means to an end for them, and I guarantee them a route into the semi-final again. I just can't see past their quality up front. I just they've a bit of for this level, I think they've an embarrassment of riches up there, and they'll make it stick again.
Yeah, I think they probably have there's no problem about it. They have the best forward line in this championship. We touched on them, the McGiones, the McLeans, Stevenson, Keenan Skelton up there too. Like, Rory, they do probably have the best forward line in the division.
Yeah, and depth. A former county player, Mickey Stevenson, came on against us with 20 minutes to go. So when you're able to bring a player of that quality on, you know what I mean, and that speaks volumes. And that other, young lads that you or I mightn't know who came on who were quality players. So I was impressed with them. I look back at their league results and I seen they only beat Sarsfields and Whitecross played last year, and there was 5 points in it, and this year there was a considerable amount more. I just feel that Whitecross just they've really only beat Tiernanog in the league this year from in terms of form. So it's going to be a big ask for that squad to market. Now they have some good players with experience, the McShays, and those guys are quality players who have also played a lot of football at seniors. So if they can stay with Sarsfields, for that, 30 to 45 minutes mark, maybe Sarsfields will start to feel a little bit of, last year's demons come back to haunt them. But I don't see Whitecross being able to stay with them for that period with the quality that Sarsfields has up front.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Sarsfields as well. Peter, I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, full house.
Yeah, so back in Sarsfields, they'll probably get beat now that we've all agreed on that. Anybody lucky enough to tune into Armagh TV on Saturday or on Sunday for the Sarsfields and Whitecross game will likely hear me and Peter on the commentary. So we look forward to that. Peter, my debut as the lead commentator, I think.
Yeah, no pressure, Sean. I'm sure I end up carrying you anyway.
We'll see how that goes. Men, thanks very much for coming on. Everybody, make sure to keep voting for your player of the week that was released yesterday. And thanks again to the Player Fit who have put up a jersey for the player of the week each week, and we'll get caught up with the previous two winners as well. Men, thanks very much, and we'll look forward to a good weekend of action.
Cheers, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Pleasure to be invited.